Greetings, sir and sirettes, and welcome back to From the Depths with me, Lathrix, and of course, welcome to a brand new craft. I present to you the Firebird prototype. This is the first time this has been spawned into the campaign, and honestly, it's mostly untested. This thing is nowhere near complete yet, but it has just hit the stage where it is functional. I have sunk far too many hours trying to get this thing to work. Essentially, it's going off the basic premise of, what would happen if I combined a thruster craft, something like the Firebird, with an airship? Yes, indeed, this thing is being controlled with a hybrid of airship controls and thruster craft controls, and ultimately it's doing pretty well. It packs a very nasty punch indeed, it uses advanced cannons, it has a very nice repair system, but other than that, it is pretty darn hollow. So much so, I won't actually be showing the inside. The overall shape is pretty much done, although I do need to sculpt the back a little bit, and I'm pretty happy with this thing. This is going to be the end of the Deepwater Guard, and so today we'll be partially dedicated to testing out this prototype just to make sure it works. And yes, these are 20 block long missiles on the front, because overkill is not a term that the Lathrixian Empire believes in. So that there is going to go ahead and join the forces at the front. But before that actually gets there, we're going to very quickly test out a theory of mine, which I'm not sure if it's actually true or not. So let's just go into one of these ships, then pull all, there we are. I want to see if we can build a building rather than a fortress from the very bottom of the water and make it so we have an actual oil dig, or a oil rig rather, starting at the very floor of the ocean and ending up very high in the sky. The big benefit to this, in fact the two benefits, would be we could make a huge structure which is very much supported by several beams going to the bottom of the water, making it very structurally sound. But also, it wouldn't need an engine to actually stay afloat like a normal fortress does. So any engine power it does use will simply be for things which aren't necessary for its survival. Things like, let's have a quick look, see, new object, things like the actual harvesters and such. So, is this actually a structure already? I believe it might be, if we can actually attach that. Yep, this is actually a structure, fantastic. So, if we were to get stone, because that would be probably the thing we'd build this out of mostly, because it's very cheap and very heavy, which is normally the big problem with using it for things like fortresses. It's just, it weighs things down too much. But it's somewhere between wood and metal. It's not got the health of metal or the armor, but it's certainly not anywhere near as weak as wood. So using it in very high numbers would be absolutely fine. So, yep, we can do this indeed. We won't be doing this in this episode, as I've still been working on the other fortress, which is still not quite finished yet, but this will be a project for the future. A huge oil rig, something very easy and cheap to put down, nothing on the scale of the fortress, but still something rather large and impressive nonetheless. So, with all of that, ooh, hello, so to test our things against. Let's quickly go away, and we'll use the Firebird itself to actually test out this thing. The Firehawk, in fact. Oh, can you tell I still haven't named this thing yet? Hence why it's just a prototype. You all go there, and you, my lovely structure, for now will simply be destroyed. Okay, back in a second with the first battle of hopefully many. And so we begin the first trial by combat, the Firehawk Prototype 1, to fight the Moray and a single red tuna. So one big thing I do want to say is that the Firehawk by no means is going to be a one-off very powerful vessel. Essentially, it's going to be the replacement for the Firework. It's going to be a little bit larger, it's only around about 1,000 blocks more than the Firework, but it is much more expensive, being constructed of a lot more functional components and just general better quality material, including, sadly, a lot of alloy as opposed to metal. So it's a lot lighter than it should be, so it can actually fly, but it is a little bit weak in certain places. But overall, with too thick armor all the way around it, it should be able to take a lot of beating in comparison to the Firework. So let's spawn in nice and close on a collision course with the Moray, and let's see how we do. Now, one concern I do have is that the Moray does have flares. And considering this is mostly a missile ship, as you can see, that's going to be a little bit annoying. Yep, almost all the missiles were completely diverted, although the tuner was destroyed, and so were most of the flares, even if it did take the entire swarm to do that. So the next volley should be devastating. Although a couple of the tuner's missiles are now hunting down our own craft. Unless they're our missiles, they should have a friend or foe system. I'll check afterwards. Here's hoping that is the case. It doesn't seem to be. Okay then, yeah, we need to make sure the friend or foe system's working out correctly, as right now it doesn't seem that we have it. Second swarm has just been released. Some of them are going for the flares, sadly, although a lot of them are going for the main ship, and there we are. Now, these missiles have one more warhead than the fireworks. They have 3 warheads each. Essentially, they're going for power over agility, unlike the fireworks, which are much, much more agile, and leveling up because of the bonus 400 or so % we're apparently getting. Yeah, they're definitely my missiles. We need to change that. That is a pretty big issue, honestly. It's also a real shame that the cruise missiles were completely distracted by the flares. Oh, that's horrible. Oh, there we go, the flares just ran out, and the swarm all lands on the Moray. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Yeah, that was pretty easily won. Well done. So, the idea is these are going to be used in a similar fashion to the firework, used in multiples, all flying at a different altitude. And just like the firework, they have the exact same AI, because I literally copied it over, so they will never crash into each other. They should work well together, assuming that they have friend or foe designation, which at the moment, it looks like they don't. We'll be looking into that in the future. So a quick look-see. Experience oh, it's 481%. Well, that explains the massive levelling up then. Well, with that sorted, let's push a little bit further. Even if we end up losing the Firehawk, it's no massive issue. It only costs around about 100,000 metal, rather than my old flyers, which cost far, far more. So, I'll quickly go into build mode, check out the issues, and then we'll get into a few more fights. Today is a day of battling. It's time for a little bit of revenge. We have just found an airship gantry, essentially the same type of thing which destroyed our very original firework. So I've brought a firework along for the ride. We're going to be sending in the Firehawk, and we're going to enact some vengeance for our lost brethren, the very first ever created firework. Which honestly is a bit of a heirloom if nothing else, but of course we can't have it anymore because of them. And so we destroy them, even if the island doesn't load in straight away. There we are. Start our camera getting a bit steady, and of course they have a Moray defender, and all of those lovely missiles are going to go to waste yet again. Oh, it's so horrible to see. Such a waste of resources, but either way, some of them are hitting. I'm being hit apparently. Let's just pretend that didn't happen. Apparently having the seat on the top next to the gun isn't the best idea. Either way, the Moray is being obliterated. Well done, Firework, getting revenge for your lost brethren. There we are. Okay, back to where it was. So many missiles, absolutely adore it. Oh, we did fire. Did it land a shot? No. The coastal defense did, but thankfully the giant gun didn't. Okay, so this time it's offline. That's what I was expecting to see when we saw the Atlas gantry, but of course that wasn't the case. The Firework is alive, and so is the Firehawk, although taking its time to turn around. Again, an issue which I am very much aware of and will be fixing very soon. The swarm missiles from the Firework look so tiny. Now I see the Firehawk next to it. One of the missiles did just hit itself, but I think that's just because it got in its own way. Oh, the cruise missiles have been released. Where are they going to hit? Right in the gantry. Huge chunks being removed there. Yep, a very sound victory indeed. This time we won't lose our Firework. Hello, Firework. The next test, really, is how well do the Firehawks actually play with each other. So we're going to summon in a couple a bit later and use them together. We'll just see how well they actually handle being in a group. I have a feeling not as well as the Fireworks, but they should still do pretty well regardless. As you can see, although their turning is pretty poor, they do keep the same altitude very well, and they do have the same AI as the Firework, so dodging each other is very easy. Just the gantry remains. Where am I, anyway? I'm on the bottom of the ocean, apparently. Hello. More cruise missiles there, and there it goes. The defences were utterly smashed by the combined forces of the Firehawk and the Firework. And a few more missiles being released just for good measure. Thankfully, as you can see, the friend or foe is working, otherwise our poor Firework there would have been absolutely obliterated by the swarm with nothing to target. That looks really trippy, I've got to say. Bouncing missiles. I really wish bouncing missiles were a thing you could actually do in this game. Some kind of addition to missiles that if they hit water they simply bounce, or if they hit land, as that would be amazing. Either way, we're going to go back, we're going to save up a few more resources, and then we're going to summon in a second Firehawk and send them both into battle together. Not even the mighty squirrels can take that many missiles and dodge every one of them. Missiles, missiles everywhere. This may be the 10th squirrel I've killed today. We saw none of them, and now suddenly they are absolutely everywhere. The vermin, the fiends. Well, here's something I've not seen before. The Kraken. Now, the last time I saw something called the Kraken on the Deep Water Guard side, it was a resource gatherer, so seeing it in a ship form, I'm a little bit confused, honestly. Well then, let's see exactly what this thing is. It's a strength 45 on its own, so I imagine it's pretty darn powerful. There it is. Wow, look at how many cannons that thing has! Oh, and it is like an octopus again. Oh, wow, that's going to hurt. Quickly, swarm missiles! Hit it before it hits us too much! We do have a lot of defense on these things, but wow, that looked like it hurt. Oh, on a side note, we now have 2 Firehawks. I may have made one in the gap there. That should be around about 80 to 120 missiles being fired at once at that thing. All of them with 3 warheads, or 10 warheads, depending on if it's a cruise missile or a swarm missile. Yep, even the one which got hit by all the shots is still flying very well, so I would consider that a great success in both teamwork and utter destruction of the enemy. So, well done. Just too many missiles to handle. The power of the swarm, I suppose. How much health did I actually take? It may have took more than 1%, in fact it definitely took more than 1%. The problem is, of course, these things can repair themselves fairly quickly, so it wasn't too much of an issue. Also, I've moved the seat onto the wing, because that makes more sense. Okay, well since we're already here, let's start a fight with the gantry. Eventually. Yeah, sure, why not? Let's get straight into the next fight. No resting for the Firehawks. I'm testing you guys out today. And when you're finished, you're going to be glorious. Now, those missiles are most likely out of range. The cruise missiles won't be, but the swarm will be, depending on which one it's actually targeting. Oh, once again with the flares. That moray. Oh, so annoying. But yeah, those missiles are definitely going to hit the water. They don't go very far, and they aren't very agile. Their big bonus is purely strength. The Firehawk is strength, whereas the Firework is agility. Oh! Will it actually? Yes, it will hit, never mind. Oh, that was definitely the cruise missiles. I love the cruise missiles. They're like my babies. I've been working on them for so long to make sure they do maximum damage, and to see that happen is just... It warms my heart, honestly. It warms my black and evil little heart. Oh, wow, we've been hit quite a bit ourselves, though. Yeah, by the defense turret, by the looks of things. Oh, is that going to collide? Please say it will. Yes! I don't know why I'm saying yes for. That's actually going to take us into the ground. Quickly, do something! Backup rotors! More flares! More missiles! More missiles always helps. Where's the other one? There's the other one. Happily just firing away at long distance. Oh, wow. The last ditch attempt by the Moray to take out the Firehawk. It isn't quite on the ground yet. It does have very powerful rotors and a very nasty self-righting mechanism. That's why it's not quite going down. But it is pretty close. I just can't help but watch this. I know there's fighting going on elsewhere, but nope, I think we just hit the floor. Yep, lots of destruction happening there. The weapon systems will still be online, of course, but wow, that's going to cause some self-harm. The anti-air turret looking a bit confused about what exactly to do in this situation. The other Firehawk just happily shooting at everything, including the thing attached to our other Firehawk. No. Wow. That's gonna hurt everything. How's the rest of it holding up? What even was that? Apparently there's a defense I wasn't paying attention to. Well, everything else is pretty much destroyed, just... Yeah, the Firehawk definitely came out of that the worse. Is the engine offline? Well, I say engine, it's got 25 engines actually, because of the change to how engines are placed now, but still. It seems that it's not moving. Oh, maybe it's AI dead. Yep, it's AI dead. That would explain why the anti-air cannon isn't firing. It's the only weapon which is attached to the same AI as its flight control. So it's just dead in the air at the moment. Still, at least it's good to see that the advanced cannons on the side are actually doing so. I can hear them firing away. There we go, that's back online, so hopefully the thrusters will be back online soon as well. Oh, maybe it's run out of fuel. No, because if that was the case, the rotors wouldn't be able to sustain its hovering. Even though it's going down, that's just by damage. Hurry up and kill them, Moray. It fought valiantly, in the oddest way possible, but I think it's time just to see its end now. Even if that was a pretty weird battle, the Firehawks did eventually claim victory. I still have no idea how that damage actually occurred in that way. I actually teleported on top of the damaged one, as you can see there, because of course the chair was damaged, and it just looked like it should be working, so I'll have to look back at that and see what caused that weird damage which turned off everything. Either way though, well done chaps. The FPS killers themselves, the Firehawks. I think it's only fitting we end the episode fighting a couple of flying squirrels, the one on the left just now going down already. Sheer number of missiles can defeat even the most wily of opponents. So ultimately, I think today's testing was pretty darn fantastic. Not only has it shown the potential of the Firehawk in terms of them devastating the enemy, but it's also shown a lot of their flaws, which means I can work on that off camera when I have a chance, meaning that the next time we see these things, it should be their final finished version, not the prototypes we're currently using. I think their turning is going to be a lot better, their missiles should fire in a more orderly fashion than they are currently, and a whole host of other minor improvements. So with all that, thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed today's episode, then of course, likes, favourites, shares, comments, all that good stuff helps out me, helps out the channel, and most importantly, shows that From the Depths is a series you wish to see continued in the future. And I do apologise for the lack of editing in this video most likely, but this is actually the final video I'm recording before going home to England for the winter holidays. So I hope you all enjoy your winter, and I'll see you in the New Year's.